Hey yo, this is T.O.T. Thank you for dropping in today, if you have. What I'm going to go ahead and do in this video is just briefly talk about some of my thoughts on the 5-star characters that I've obtained. This range is from the first patch of the game all the way up through 3.6. Alright, first up is going to be the Trailblazer. I do think for the most part the Trailblazer has been a phenomenal character in the game, especially with the new paths that the Trailblazer has continued to get. I think out of all 4 paths that the Trailblazer has obtained so far, I do think the preservation path has aged the most poorly, just because the AoE shield was always super weak, and now in these days the taunt has lost significant value since so many enemies just hit our entire party, where they're hitting multiple characters at one time. So the whole taunt aggro thing is not nearly as effective today as it would have been back in the day. Himiko. I am a big fan of Himiko's follow-up, especially if you're doing pure fiction stuff and you're doing Himiko Fugue. You may have like a Ranmei or a Herta in there, and it's just follow-ups for days. I haven't used her a whole lot in 3.x, but I am hoping that I'll be able to get it to use her a little bit more in the future. I have been fortunate enough to get her E2, I believe, so that has helped out a pretty good amount. I've always liked Welt's animations. I think Welt is a really cool character to play. I enjoy him a lot. Unfortunately, I just don't have the Eidolons on him to really make him work. I could potentially turn him into a DPS at maybe at some point in the future, but again, I don't have the Eidolons, and I also don't have Sunday as well. I think Sunday would be pretty huge for Welt, and I don't have any intention on getting. As somebody that I used to use as a Pseudo Sustain with Acheron in the past, I do enjoy when I do get to use Acheron and Welt together. It's a nice combo when I can pull it off. Mother Kafka. I don't think there's really anything I need to say about Mother Kafka. She is my favorite character in the game. I more recently got her E2 back in 3.5, and I've just been loving the living daylights out of T.O.T. And one thing I would like is for Kafka to get a cosmetic that's actually really cool and not overpriced. I would buy that in a heartbeat, no questions asked. Now for Silverwolf, our favorite hacker that just shows up, flexes on people, and then leaves without explaining anything. I have really enjoyed Silverwolf's gameplay quite a bit, and her rework has been super fantastic, making her ultimate AoE instead of single target been chef's kiss, and I plan on continuing using Silverwolf for the long haul. Great character in my opinion. Love this character to death. I would say Silverwolf is probably in my top 5 favorite characters in the game. Maybe, possibly, not for sure. I'd have to think on that a little bit more. All right, now for Archer, one of the free characters that we got with 3.x series. I don't have Sparkle, so I'm not able to push Archer to his limitations, but I do think his animations are super dope, super cool. He is very fun to play. It's just, again, I'm very limited on his effectiveness since I don't have Sparkle. Sparkle is mandatory to have with Archer if you want to get the best out of him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and I have no intention on getting Sparkle. It is what it is. All right, now we have Dan Heng in his preservation form, which I do think is very dope. Huge game changer. I made an Anomaly Arbitration video discussing Dan Heng prior, talking about my thoughts on the character. He is a game changer. Getting such a good sustain for free is really great, and I'm happy. Don't have to go out of my way to feel pressure to pull a limited sustain when Dan Heng exists. So shout out to MiHoYo on that, and yeah, that's all I gotta say about Dan Heng. I like his animations for the most part. I would say from an animation aspect, as far as like the preservation characters, I think his follow-up is like the coolest, but as far as like an ultimate animation, I do think Push 1 still has my favorite animation out of all the preservation characters when it comes to their ultimates. Our commander, Bronya. I do think Bronya has aged phenomenally well in this game, despite being a standard banner character. Although now these days, I do think that players are going to want to have her E1, S1 at the bare minimum if they want her to be functional. I think E0, S1 is just way too hungry on the skill point consumption. Preferably, players should be working toward E2, S1 now in these days, which shouldn't be that bad because I think around the anniversary time, we get a free standard banner selector or something along those lines. So E2 Bronya definitely is obtainable. It's just going to be kind of a time gated thing. All right, now I'm going to very briefly talk about the 2 characters that I have retired. I have used Japard a fairly good amount. A couple of patches after I got him in the the 1.x series all the way up to, I would say, 3.6 with Anomaly Arbitration. He's been a phenomenal AoE shielder up to that point. It's just with Anomaly Arbitration, just the enemies hit so doggone hard and his shield refresh is not going to be good enough. I think outside of Anomaly Arbitration, Japard can still work as a very good AoE shielder. It's just an Anomaly Arbitration, you just need the shields to refresh a lot more frequently, and plus he has very low base speed, so it's hard to get him to 134 while still having good shielding. I know there's some players out there that have like really cracked Japard builds. I just never got to that point on him. In regards to Clara, I did use her for a little bit. I love her playstyle with the whole counter mechanic and everything. The reason why I ended up retiring Clara is just simply for the fact that once an enemy is broken, especially if this is in APOC Shadow, the enemy just sits there and does nothing. And characters like Clara and Young Lee, they just lose so much momentum when the enemies aren't constantly attacking them. And that's why I steer away from these very counter heavy dependent characters like your Claras and your Young Lees. Don't get me wrong, gameplay wise, they're great. And if they're going up against aggressive enemies, they're fabulous. But again, when you're fighting enemies that aren't that aggressive, or when they get broken, they're not going to be attacking for a long period of time, Clara's damage falls off significantly. Young Lee's damage falls off significantly. It is what it is. Locha. This is a man that I've been wanting for a very good amount of time because he syncs so well with Blade, and I have no regrets getting him as one of the freebie characters in the past. No regrets whatsoever. He's been phenomenal for my account, and yeah, that's really just about it on it. Mr. Blade himself. I have to say, Blade's improvements have been fairly nice as far as enemies attacking him more frequently. Super dope. I love his animations, and I think out of all the characters in the game, I think he has my favorite counter animation. I like it more than even Finon's animation, essentially. So Blade's really great. I love his edginess. The whole savor it in my place, death may not be reachable for me kind of thing. I love Blade. Blade is just so much aura behind that man. Like, my goodness. Now, I ended up losing a 50-50 to Fushuan, and this was back when I was going for Cypher, I believe. But luckily, Fushuan has been a pretty good account improvement for me because I do tend to run her with Acheron, give Acheron 12% more crit rate. And like I already mentioned earlier in the video, I think she has my favorite preservation-based ultimate animation. It's just like, my goodness, she really turned up for this. The problem with Fushuan is that now in these days, we have a lot of content where our team is just taking so much AoE damage, and I do think that lower invested Fushuans, such as my own for example, just cannot sustain. Now, maybe there are some players out there that got like a super cracked Fushuan and they're able to make things work completely fine. I am definitely not in that particular criteria. Yang Qing, I never leveled this guy past 20, and this was mainly just because of the whole gimmick of him needing to have a shield or not get hit in order for him to upkeep his maximum damage potential, was just a huge turnoff for me, so I never bothered really leveling him. In regards to Fei Xiao, I do like Fei Xiao's combat animations a lot. She is the only limited hunt character that I actually pulled for. I think her running technique is like really great for Divergent Universe when you're trying to do the time trials and you're trying to like destroy so many objects or defeat so many trotters in a short amount of time. She completely trivializes those type of game modes. So I have no regrets getting her. I never did get her signature light cone, and even though I did improve on her build recently for the 3.7 relic event that we have going on right now, she's still not at an acceptable level for me. And I think at this point it's just because I don't have her signature light cone and I don't have the proper teammates for her. And I think that's what's holding her back performance wise at this point. I highly doubt I'm going to give her the characters that she needs to like fully shine, because I've never been too big on the hunt playstyle just because it's just very single target oriented. I'd prefer characters that have AoE in their kit, so that way if I have to fight like 4 or 5 targets, it's not a problem. Those characters can kind of deal with it. But this is just me, you know, everyone is going to be different. Fugue, I am mainly indifferent about. She's fabulous for Super Break, but as far as like the characterization of Fugue, I've always been kind of you know, very indifferent. Same thing with her base Teen Young form. I don't know, it's just I don't really like Fugue nor dislike Fugue. I'm just very indifferent. Gameplay wise though, once again for Super Break, she is phenomenal. That's all I really got to say about Fugue. Ron Mei, oh gosh, Ron Mei is truly a character of all time, and at this point going into 3.7 anyways, players are now literally going to have had 2 opportunities to pick up Ron Mei. Absolutely crazy work. Now, one thing that I will say about Ron Mei is I think she has aged phenomenally well for being the first limited harmony character that we had in Honkai Star Rail, and I do think that she is going to continue to see a lot of usage in APOC Shadow, just because a lot of times we need to break the boss boss or the elite's shield as quickly as possible. And then I think we're also going to see her quite a bit in anomaly arbitration runs still for the night stages, simply on the premise that you just need so many characters. So even though she's not going to be a best in slot for most teams, she's still a very strong contender as like a secondary option, and I know a lot of players are going to still have to rely on her for a good amount of time. Now, how long that will be, who knows? I think the only way Ranmei is going to get completely pushed out of teams like across the board entirely, two things are going to really have to happen. We're just going to have way more characters released, and on top of that, I think it's going to have to get to the point to where her general buffs just are no longer going to be deemed strong anymore. But we're not at that point right now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. In regards to Dr. Ratio, I never leveled this guy past level 20. One of the reasons is just because he's Hunt, but the main reason is just because, in my opinion, Dr. Ratio is an elitist. I hate individuals who think that they're better than everybody else, regardless of what the reasoning might be. Now, some people might argue that Anaxa is also an elitist, which I highly disagree with. I don't think Anaxa is an elitist at all. He has a very high standard that he holds himself to and his students, for example. But I think for individuals who have played through Anaxa's story, they're going to see other sides to him that will debunk anyone who thinks that he is an elitist. Dr. Ratio, though, I haven't seen that, and maybe Ratio really isn't an elitist, but that's just the vibes that I get off of this character. That's just a me thing. Again, I do not like elitists. I don't care if they're in a video game or if I have to deal with them in real life. Just not a fan. In regards to Black Swan, I think she has some really dope animations. I love her ultimate animation with the hands going out toward the enemy and the whole crystallized breaking and stuff like that. Really good stuff. And I don't really have too many complaints about Black Swan, honestly. I think from a story perspective, she's obviously knows more than what she's letting on, and we'll just see how things play out going into the future in regards to her. All right, Acheron. Man, Acheron is definitely one of my favorite characters in the game from a gameplay perspective. Just the fact that she could just take two Nihility characters and just do so phenomenally well with them is truly a character of all time. She definitely broke the mold on like party building expectations, and I would say prior to Hycelin's coming out for T.O.T, Acheron was the only character who you could literally not run a Harmony character with and it was completely fine. I think that's been a big thing that's been able to keep Acheron relevant all the way up to this point. And I know there's going to be people out there that feel like she's completely fallen off, she's not usable anymore and things along those lines, which I think I'm going to do a follow-up video on that regards, because I do believe that Acheron is literally the most misplayed DPS in Honkai Star Rail history, and there's multiple reasons as to why I think the way that I do on that. I'll probably make a follow-up video on that at some point in the future. I'll be honest, when it was revealed that Sam was actually a girl, I was extraordinarily disappointed. I was hoping Sam would just be like this cybernetic robot male. That's what I was hoping for. Now, with that being said, I do think the animations for Sam, combat-wise, are super dope. The only thing is like Super Break is probably one of my least favorite playstyles in the game. It is very functional, but the downside is it's also extremely easy to shut down, and it's also very straightforward. You get your Sam, your Ranmei, your Harmony Harmony Trailblazer, and or your Fugue, and you're pretty much good to go. So there's not a whole lot of flexibility, and going throughout the whole Emporius, we haven't gotten anything new for Super Break at this point. So I do think for players who have invested into Super Break, if they have like say an E2 Sam, for example, they should still be fine. Maybe if they have an E2 Fugue, should probably still be fine. Rappa has been MIA, so I can't really comment on her too much, and yeah, it is what it is. I really like Jade a lot as a character. She's basically somebody who exploits the negative emotions of individuals, so like their greed, their selfishness and things like that, and Jade basically just exploits that for her own personal profit. I really like that type of character, at least in the context of Honkai Star Rail, and also love her animations, like the snake coming out of the ground and like doing that huge bite, and the foot stamp, so good. Jade's animations are really nice. I love them so much. Now, Tribi is a Chrysos hair, the first one that I got with 3.x, and I do like how Tribi is this very wise character, but she also has these little quirks to her that make her a really funny character in a sense as well. So I have enjoyed Tribi quite a bit as a character. Cypher. What can I say about this character? This character has been so fun to play with. I love the mix up on her ultimate. You can either hold on to it or you can go ahead and use it off a cooldown to get Acheron more stacks. I really enjoy a lot of things about Cypher. I have nothing bad to say about her. Shia Faraday, being the English dub VA, like I've mentioned in the prior video, did a phenomenal job with Cypher. She is easily my favorite Chrysos hair. I love the gameplay. I like everything about Cypher. Her design is lit. I could just go on and keep praising than Cypher. Just TLDR, I really love Cypher. I think she's dope, phenomenal character. Got no regrets getting her. Who knows, I may invest in her E1 or E2 later on in the future. Only time will tell though. And finally, Hysolence. What can I really say about Hysolence? I think the animations from Hysolence, even though they are probably my least favorite amongst like the DOT characters, she just does so much doggone damage and like the stacking. Not only does she help out Kafka, she also helps out Black Swan. And again, going back to that Arcana stacking and whatnot, she's just a really great character in general, and she addressed a lot of shortcomings with DOTs, just giving us more DOTs to work with, allowing quicker stacking, addressing the Arcana situation with Black Swan. She's just great. I really enjoy her a lot for DOT, and I think every single DOT main has been very satisfied with Hysolence. But then again, who knows? Maybe there's somebody out there that just was like, Hysolence, she's not all that good, or whatever the case is, and I think that individual's just probably just hating just to be hating. Hysolence has been phenomenal for DOT. Anyways, that's all the thoughts that I have for today's video. If you have taken out the time to watch this or listen to this, I just want to say thank you for your time. You be safe out there. Deuces.